Hello, welcome back. I have quite a few little things to share here, so I'm just going to dive right on in. My name is Shannon. Welcome back. I think this is episode 9, and I am filming on Sunday, May 7th. Hopefully this will be posted later on the same day. We'll see how quick I get my editing done. And since we last spoke, I have 4 finished objects, some finished hand-spun yarn, and of course it was local yarn shop day last weekend, so I absolutely have some new yarn to show you. So I'll get started with the first one. So the first finished object I have, we'll start with this one because it is the biggest. This is the blanket I was showing last week. It is a Tunisian crochet blanket, and try to just kind of give an idea. It's about a good lap blanket size, and it was made with 1 full ball of Karen's anniversary cake in, where's the color? The color Rainbow Dots. So this is a number 6 bulky weight, 100% acrylic yarn. The anniversary cakes, they're just so ridiculously big. They're a lot of fun. And you get to make an entire lap-size blanket out of it, so it's a fun project. And this was made just using the Tunisian Simple Stitch. It's only my second time ever attempting anything with Tunisian crochet, and the first time was just a little test square to see if I could kind of figure it out. So, I mean, as I ended up with a finished blanket, I think that came out pretty well. I want to do some more Tunisian crochet, but because it is not as common yet, finding patterns for it is that I like, and doesn't mean I have to go out and buy special yarn for it. Hasn't been super big. I do have the book from Tony Lipsy on Tunisian crochet, so I'm hoping I can find something in there and keep going, but yeah, I feel like for a first attempt, having a finished blanket is not that bad. The next object I have completed over here is my hand spun yarn. So I showed these on the spool last week. This one, it's just little shades of gray. I know it came in a Paradise Fibers Fiber of the Month box, but I honestly cannot remember what the fiber content was or the theme of this box. I keep all the little cards that come with it, but sometimes I just can't remember which fibers go with which months. But it was just a nice soft gray. I'm not sure what I'll do with it, but it came out maybe a sport weight? Yeah. So there's that one. And then this one I actually have 2 from. And this one I know a little bit more about. It was from a box themed around Van Gogh's Starry Night. So it had a merino blend that was shades of blue, black, gray, and yellow. And then it came with 2 little packets of stellina, one in a light blue and one in a dark blue. And what I did was I split the wool and then blended the light blue with one and the dark blue with the other, with the idea that I'd ply them back on each other and you'd have that little bit of both. But the light blue seemed to go farther than the dark blue, so like in this big one, you probably won't be able to tell, but there's a lot more of the light blue stellina. And in this one, there's a lot of the dark blue. And it didn't seem to actually evenly go through everything. I could have gotten it more evenly distributed, I think, if I had put the entire thing through my drum carder. But then I would have lost the specific kind of blend that had already come with the wool. So I just kind of had to blend it as I spun, and it just... I think I will not blend stellina in as I spin again. I don't think I liked that much. But I do like this wool. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I have a tendency to spin yarn and just have it sit there and look pretty. I feel like I spend more for the fun of spinning than for using my hand spun. So, 3 new skeins of hand spun. Let's see. Pull things a little closer. I don't always have quite enough room to reach. So the other finished object, this is just another little yarn cozy using the knitted yarn cozy pattern from Nitty Natty. This is a 50-gram size. This is the second one I've made. And I'll talk a little bit more about yarn cozies in a minute. I tried blocking this one, and then when I first blocked it, I kind of dried it over a cup, and that stretched it out a lot. But I soaked it again and reblocked it, and it seems to have come back to shape. I know I made some adjustments to the first one I made, but I don't remember what those adjustments are. So I don't know if I made the same adjustments to this one, but I don't know. It was just a fun little project. It used up some scrappy yarn from Muse 2320. I believe the color was Bubblegum Ice Cream. Making the cozies, it's fun enough. I don't think it's going to be something I do with all my yarn, but I might make more. Okay, I do have that bag. My other finished object is another square for my Alt Knots Stitch and Scream. I had not started this last time. This was the Silt Stitch. I came in just beyond April. This is April's square, and I finished it this last week, which was technically in May. So it's just a square. Eventually it will go with all of the others into a blanket that you will see at the end of the year. And that was using Furls Wander Acrylic. This was the color Atlantis. So I feel like I'm just zooming through my finished objects today. My last finished object is a pair of socks. It's just a simple vanilla sock. I used German short row heel, rounded toe, 2x2 rib up here. When I did my German short row heel, I added a couple of extra stitches so that the heel would have a little more depth. And this yarn is from, let me pull out that label, Nomadic Yarns, and it is in the color Dark Academia on the Tweedy sock base. So that's an 85 BFL and 15 Donegal Nep. And then the heel here, I didn't want the stripes to be messed up, so this is Knitted Niceties in the color Storm? It was a little mini skein that came with a sock set from Knitted Niceties. So I actually did get to do a little bit of experimenting on the yarn cozies with these because I had one made and I wanted the 50-gram balls because when I knit my socks, I have a tendency to knit them in tandem. So I have two 50-gram balls and I will knit the ribbing on one and then ribbing on the other, then the ankle or the leg on one, leg on the other, heel on one, heel on the other, and then go back and forth in the foot until I'm reaching the toes on both of them. So that way when I am done with one sock, I usually only have the toe left to do on the other sock and I'm done. So when I knit socks, they tend to be car knitting for me, so they'll be in a bag and they will be sitting in my car. Oh, this bag is from Knitted Niceties. And it'll probably be kicking around in my car for 2 or 3 weeks. So I thought if anywhere I was going to use yarn cozies, it would be those 50-gram cozies for my socks that are going to be in my car. Well, I had one yarn cozy made when I started these socks, and I thought, well, that's cool. I can put one in the cozy and the other not in the cozy and see how big of a difference it makes. And I will say, granted, these were not necessarily wound the best I've ever done. I feel like they were a little bit loose, and it felt like it got shoved into the cozy a little bit strange. I'm still not 100% sure I made cozies like the proper size for a 50-gram ball. But you can absolutely see, like, without the cozy, it was fine. With the cozy, it was definitely held a little bit more together. So for the next pair of socks I have now a blocked cozy and an unblocked cozy. And I will put them both in and see if I like better having both in a cozy, and also if blocking it makes any difference. And I may not know, because they're both identical. So I may have no idea which one is the blocked cozy and which one is not. But it was a nice little thing to be able to experiment and see, wow, it does make a little bit of a difference. This ball is definitely a little bit more together than this one. And if I was working all the way to the end, like, there's still a decent amount of yarn in each of these. But if there was even more taken out of it, then this might have helped everything stay together a lot more. So if you're wondering if yarn cozies make a difference, apparently they can, but it's not necessary. Okay, so that was all of my finished objects. I feel like I'm zooming along today. Hopefully I'm not forgetting a bunch of vital information. Remember, any of the places I get things from should be linked down below, so hopefully if I'm forgetting to tell you things, you will still see where it came from in the description below. I only have 3 works in progress right now, and surprisingly enough, none of them are socks. So I will be casting on a new pair of socks soon. I feel like 3 works in progress tends to be a little bit of my sweet spot, maybe 4. Because I'll usually have a car project, an upstairs project, a downstairs project, and a weekend project. And my car project is currently sitting on the sock blockers. So, let me start with the ones that you have seen. This is my year-long mystery knit-along. The pattern is from Expression Fiber Arts, using yarn from So Happy Jane from the So Happy Jane Happy Yarn Club. And I'm a little bit behind. So this was a pattern doing mosaic knitting. I think you can kind of see my stitch marker right there. So the last time we saw it, I had just finished January, February, March. This part with the pink is April. And I'm probably about 2/3 through April. The pattern for the month of May has already, like, the update has already been done for May. I'm not thrilled that I fell behind on it, but I'm trying not to stress about it. So, it's mosaic knitting. Their pattern is like a shade of blue and a shade of white, and they're alternated every month. You add in either blue or white compared to what the other one was. I am just going with what comes into my monthly subscription and picking my color based on that. So after this green is done, we're going to have a month of pink and purple, and then I believe it's going to be a month of purple and green. And then, based on So Happy Jane's update, it looks like she next month may have a slightly different base. So we'll see if I end up using that to come into this, or if I go back into old months and pick out another one. But that is the Advertence year-long mystery knit-along from Expression Fiber Arts. Just not a lot to say other than I'm still working on it. The other project you have seen before, I have it in another bag from Niceties. I have a few of these because they sell them at my local yarn store, so I can go and look and see them. This is the Advent calendar sweater from 2020 by Helene's Knit House, and I am knitting it using a Advent calendar from Pixie Yarn. Knitting this, it's done, so right up here is the shoulders, and then you go back and forth every stripe, and you're supposed to knit one on the front, one on the back, one on the front, one on the back. So I do have 2 different stitch markers to show where I was on the front. So I've done 3 and I'm halfway through the 4th stripe. My goal was to try to get 4 colors per week, and I might make it. We'll see if I finish that stripe today. And then on the back, my stitch marker is right here. I did get my 4 colors done. And then after this, I have 10 more colors to put in. I did realize a couple colors ago that I actually did make a mistake. So in between each color is the main color that will later be the collar, cuffs, all the ribbing, basically. And you have 2 rows of that. There was also, and while you do that, you do eyelets and garter stitch. And it is a paid for pattern, so, you know, I'm going to try to talk about the mistake I made without giving away too much. But there was another row of garter that was supposed to be in on each of these stripes. And I just missed it. But I think looking at it, you can't really tell that there was a mistake like that in here, so I'm not too fussed about it. I am really liking the way the colors are. I mean, the front and the back are definitely very different. When I put the colors together, I tried to pick out, there's going to be 23 stripes total. I picked my 4 favorite to go on the front, and 4 I didn't care about too much to go on the back, and then just kind of intersperse the rest of them through it to try to give it balance. Because I didn't want to absolutely love the front and hate the back, and I didn't want the colors to come out strange. I feel like if I was doing this pattern during the Advent season and just opening it and putting it wherever, it could kind of backfire on me, but it could also end up looking very, very cool. But since that's not what I was doing, I'd already opened this Advent calendar, I'd already put little bits of all of these into socks, I can arrange it any way I want. And each of the stripes, got a few of them over here. You can see a few of the balls that I've used here. Like, you still end up with a good chunk of yarn. I think it's coming out to about 14-ish grams for each stripe. I have measured it, like I've weighed them each at the end, and I'm pretty sure it's about 14 grams per stripe. So I still have a bunch. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. I have a vague thought of starting a magic knot ball, which I have never done before, but because I've never made a magic knot ball or used one, it kind of has me in a, well, how much is too much or not enough to go into a magic knot ball? Like, do I need more so that it'll give a big stripe? Does it depend on what I'm doing with it? So currently I have them all in a Frankenstein candy bucket where just these leftover balls of yarn go, and one day I will do something with it. And for right now, my Frankenstein's monster is thinking about it for me. So my last work in progress, I had not started last time. I do have a stitch marker in it, mostly just because I felt like I couldn't tell if I was making progress day to day, even though clearly it has grown, but it was like, well, did I do 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows? Oh, it started to come out a little bit. I'll have to fix that. All right, so this is another granny ripple using the Sundance granny ripple shawl from Mama in a Stitch. This I am making in a very lightweight cotton. I'm using a size 4 hook from Furls. I can't remember which of the zodiac colors this was. Maybe Sagittarius? I don't know. I'm sure it's on their website. I normally remember, but I can't remember with this one. But I thought the purple went well. So it is using a now mostly empty cake from Hobbii. And this was one of their Black Friday cotton cakes. So it's a 100% cotton. This is the color number 6, but it was part of their Black Friday, so I can't easily look up which color it was. But it is a 200 gram ball of a number 2 fine. And I do recommend a 4mm hook, which, as I said, is what I'm using. When I first started it, somehow in my mind it was going to be one cake would make the shawl. So I just kind of got started, but looking at that, like, you could see how much of the cake was done. I've calculated it out that it will actually end up being about half the length I'd want, because this is going to go down like that, and like the length that way is wonderful for a good cozy thing, but I wanted it long enough that I could basically wrap it all the way around my back and hold it like that. And I mean, this is just not going to cut it. So I could not get another one of these balls because easily, as far as I'm aware, because it is one of their Black Friday colors, but I also had several cakes that were very similar. And so I went looking through them with my daughter, and we selected another one that we think will go well. This is actually one of the Dahlia Halloween. It is also 100% cotton. This is color number 3. And it is also 100% cotton, number 2 fine, 4mm. So in the middle of this one is a purple, like a light purple, which then goes darker purple, blue to kind of a navy. And this one, as you can see, starts lavender, very mermaidy colors until you get into darker blue, which will fade into black. So these have like a little easy start pull tab to start from the middle, but what I'm actually planning on doing is going from the outside on this one. So it will go the darker blue to a black, and then this is the only part that makes me sad. It's not really going to have a fade. It's just going to be an abrupt to the navy, but then it will end on a purple again. And the 2 cakes should be enough to make it a good wraparound shawl. I've been working on it for about a week and a half. It's a nice, I really enjoyed the process of the granny ripple. It's a nice, I don't want to say mindless, because you do have to pay attention to the peaks and the valleys there, but it's not something that I have to focus on excessively. So if I've had a hard day at work, if I go back to school on, tomorrow. But if I'm in lectures, it's something where I can work on that while in lectures. I do have other projects that I really do, I am excited and kind of want to work on. That was picked up on a whim, but it's giving me exactly what I want from the work of it, and I think it will look the way I want it to. And so that is, like, that's enough. That's just what I wanted. All right, so continuing to zoom right along, up until a moment ago, I was not going to have a lot of yarn to show. And I'm beginning to think that my trying to buy with intention is just not working out enough. But I don't have a good but. It's just not working out as well as I'd like it to, so I think I'm going to have to adjust my yarn buying a little bit. But for now, I still have stuff to show you. So, the first one I have to show you is from Muse 2320, and this is the Troop 2320 set. It should be for April, and the color was Red-Winged Blackbird. So I don't usually go for a lot of reds, but this is gorgeous. And it really does look like a red-winged blackbird. Like I like the way it came out. I feel like I should have a lot more to say about that, but when you do the subscriptions, you know there's ones that may not be colors you would have picked by yourself. And that's part of the fun, I think, is knowing, like, I would not have picked this by myself, but it doesn't mean I don't like it. So there is that one. And then I also have, I do have some plastic today for a couple of things. There were some things that I was just trying to keep together. So we're gonna have a little plastic noise today. So this was a little bit of an impulse buy. I've seen a few people do these online and it seemed exciting, and I like making socks. So this is the Regia Perfect, and it is, where's the color? Okay, it is color 09137. So it is a #1 superfine, and I've never done one of these before. But you see there's this darker yellow. So you're supposed to start at the edge of that. Like, that is not a part of your sock. And then, it's got a picture of it over here. You use this yellow and you use it to make a rib on the sock. And then when you get to the color that you can kind of see in there, you do the leg until you get more of this pale yellow, and then that's the heel, and then you keep going until the toe. And then when you're done with your sock, you go, I think there's supposed to be some more of this in the middle, I'm not positive. But then you start over, and in the end you have these two socks that look like they're complex fair isle knitting that are supposed to be exactly the same. And it just seemed like a cool thing. The only downside is, of course, that I do normally do my socks in tandem, and I wasn't going to buy 2 balls and then end up with 2 pairs of socks just to do that. So this will be a fun thing to work on as soon as I actually start it. Let me try to keep my yarn in order. So up until last Saturday, this was all I had. And then it was local yarn shop day, and I went to a local yarn shop. So Three Loves is a yarn shop that is a decent distance from both my home and my work, so it makes it a great place to go. And I try not to go too often because I do have subscription boxes that come that already bring me some yarn. I do have a decent sized stash, so I try to not go unless there's a reason. And local yarn shop day gave me, I want to say, more of an excuse than a reason. But they did have an exclusive dyed colorway, so of course I had to go and look at it. This is from Knitted Niceties, and it was the color Confetti Party. It's an 80/20 merino nylon blend, and it was only available at Three Loves for local yarn shop day. So it's got the little zebra stripe in it, and it's mostly white with speckles on it. And it will, they had one worked up in a sock already there, so I could see that it worked up beautifully. I'm very excited to use this one. Obviously haven't used it yet. So that was technically why I went, because I wanted to see the color, but it was not all I got. I also got a Hedgehog Fibers twist sock potluck color. It's a little bit purpley, which I like the purple. Then they also had Zodiac sign stitch stoppers, so I got one of those. And they had shawl sets set up for a variety of patterns from Aspen Knits. So I picked the pattern Wild Ride, and this was my pattern kit. So this is Leo and Roxy. It's an 80/20 sock in the color Rhapsody. And then the set came with 5 minis from Knitted Niceties in the color Dandelion, Poppy, where is it? Tannenbaum, Peony, and Marigold. So it's going to be, I think, very beautiful with that little rainbow on it. And then I also had been looking on upgrading my interchangeable needle set. I have been using a set from Knit Picks for years, and when I first got it, I didn't like it that much. Some of the cords came undone. I have started using it a little bit more recently because I have just found that circular needles hurt my hands less. But I still don't necessarily like it or feel that the cords are secure. I have bought some other cords for it, but it was still just one of those where I kind of wanted to upgrade the set. And local yarn shop day did give me an excuse to buy some ChowGoo. It is not a full set, which is the other reason why I felt like I could buy it. It was a part set that had basically just the smaller sizes here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then of course there's still space to get the other ones. But these are the sizes I don't have in my current set anyways. So I could kind of upgrade some of the sizes I'm using frequently that I don't already, or I want to use more frequently, but I don't already have. And then I could slowly add other sizes later if I want to, add more cords if I want to. I do have a few ChowGoo that are not interchangeable, and I do really like their cords. I like their tips. So I'd already kind of been planning on upgrading to these. I just didn't know when, and then local yarn shop day, it happened. So let me clear these a little bit out of the way. So yeah, I did get a little bit more at local yarn shop day than I intended, especially when I got new needles. But even then, it was one of those where it's like, it's a special event. I could only get this color today because it was their exclusive for that. Might have been able to get more later, maybe not. It would depend on if they sold them all of that. I also kind of forgot I was going to get a decent amount of yarn coming in for Star Wars Day. And this is where some of the packaging comes in. So I had pre-orders. I've kept them in the packaging because I wanted to keep everything together, so please excuse the crinkle. I've been waiting until after filming to do this. This is from FanGirl Fibers, the sock set for episode 4, A New Hope. So it's got a lot of gold, a purple, and a gray. And then it came with a set of stitch markers. I know they're not going to show up really well. But the sock set came with a Luke, Leia, Han, R2-D2, and Vader. All in little wooden stitch markers. And I already somewhat have plans for what I'm going to do with where I'm going to use some of these. And these are going to be socks. I have a lot of sock sets lately, so it may not be right away. I did not expect something so bright. I was really kind of expecting more of like sand, like light, chill colors, maybe some dark for space. I really like what she did, but I'm not sure where she decided these colors. It kind of makes me want to rewatch. And then, I'm gonna run out of battery. Sorry, my battery's about to run out, and I did not want it to run out in the middle. So the last of my new yarn is another Star Wars set from FanGirl Fibers. So this was the larger set that she did. It was a Woman's Place is in the Resistance was the theme. So there was, I think this is a sticker too. Came with some stickers, some Darth Vader stitch stoppers. So I guess it's probably not officially Darth Vader because of licensing. I don't know. Some stitch markers that are one for each of the characters that I'm about to pull out for the yarn. And they're the little wooden ones. I like the little wooden ones. They're nice and lightweight. So that is very nice. So the 5 colors it came with was Leia, Rey, Padme, I think I'm going to say it wrong, Ahsoka. I can picture her face, I cannot say her name. And Jen. So, these are poorly held, the 5 together. I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do with these. I really liked the idea of ordering them and making a shawl of some sort out of them. As soon as I saw them, it was the same as the A New Hope one. I liked them more than I expected to, which is not a bad thing at all, of course. And there was actually a pattern that instantly came to me. They arrived on Monday. They were technically supposed to be opened on May the 4th, but I opened them on the 1st because I had them. And I have been waiting to cake them up, partially because I was busy during the week, but also once I had time, I was so close. It's like, well, just show them first. Just show them in the podcast first. But I'm very excited because I had a pattern from Expression Fiber Arts. I believe the pattern is called Hobbii Cake, and it is a 5-color shawl making hexagons and half hexagons and then sewing them all together. So I may already regret the idea of doing this, but as soon as I saw these colors, I could kind of picture them in that particular shawl. And it would also be one where I could work on it kind of slowly. I wouldn't have to do it instantly. I've definitely noticed a pattern with the projects that I want to pick out lately where they are long projects. And there's part of me that's struggling with that because then I don't have that exciting, I just finished it. But because these are the things that I'm wanting to do right now, I'm trying to kind of embrace it a little bit and be like, okay, you'll just work on doing hexagons and you'll do a few here and there, and I think there's like 90 something in that the pattern says to do, and then half hexagons and then sewing them all together and a border. And it's like, you know what, just pick a color, start on it, work on it. You'll get it when you get it done. I'm not doing great entirely, but I think if I want these long-term projects, I have to accept that they're going to be long-term, not done next week. And I think that's kind of where my brain is struggling to catch up, that I want to do the long-term project, but I want to be done now and go on to the next long-term project. And I keep wanting to start some things, especially around like a while ago around Vlogmas. I was seeing people's like scrappy blankets that they'd been working on and things that they've been working on for years, and it was like, well, I want that. But also acknowledging if somebody's been working on a blanket for 5 years, before I started, I need to acknowledge that I may be making a 5-year commitment to it. Maybe not. It all depends on how fast you work and things like that. But I'm struggling with how many long-term projects I'm wanting to start. So we'll see how well I do picking up another one that's going to take a little while to finish, if I'm going to get frustrated and put it down, or if finishing each little part is going to make it feel like I'm finishing something every day. Because look, I finished another hexagon. Anyways, that was a bit of a ramble. So that is all of my finished objects, all of my works in progress, and all of my acquisitions. It definitely felt like a lot. Seeing it sit next to me and talking about it, I mean, it's not a small amount, but it's not necessarily as much as my brain sometimes wants to tell me it is. So I guess it's good and bad. And I do have plans for the bulk of it. So it's still technically within what I was working on, where don't buy it unless you have a plan, because you have to store it. So that's all the yarn content for right now. I go back to school again tomorrow. I'm going to be doing school all through the summer, but it is my last semester, and then I will be hopefully finishing with my fieldwork around the same time that I'm finishing with my semester and getting ready to test for certification, and then I will be able to be done with that. And that is one of those thoughts that's both wonderful and terrifying. You know, when you start something knowing it's going to be like a 2-year amount of classes and field work and testing, and it's like, okay, well, 2 years, you never stop to think eventually those 2 years is going to be up. And it's just kind of been sneaking up on me where it feels like I'm going to be doing this forever, and forever is now about another 6 months. That's really not that long. So that's in that exciting, terrifying zone. I am excited because the sun's slowly starting to come out. Not today. Here in Idaho, it's a bit rainy. But we're slowly starting to get enough sun that I can plant a garden, and our back area the grass is not great. It's a mess. But we're slowly getting it a little bit better. So getting able to get my garden going and grow some fresh fruits and vegetables, I'm really excited about that. And honestly, that's about it. So much of my life is yarn, work, and school, so it's not really exciting to talk about the life part here. But it is exciting to think about the yarn part, and I am now looking at all the yarn, waiting for me to get back to my projects, some of which I can work on while editing. So that is all I have for today. I think this was actually a pretty short one, in spite of how much I had. I will see you all again in a couple of weeks, hopefully with some exciting things to share on my projects. Until then, happy making. See you later.